This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ramon Preston Show. We are live right here on this beautiful Wednesday. It is Wednesday, W-I-N-S Day. And I am super excited to be here live on this beautiful Wednesday right here in the Buckhead community of Atlanta. So please do me a favor. If you're coming on live, do me a favor. Hit the like button, hit the share button, tag Lolly Dolly everybody and let them know your boy Ramon, my squad, and the Ramon Preston Show. We are live right here on this Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, August the 31st, 2022. And as we prepare for the final 4 months of 2022, we are moving into the month of September. We've got October, November, and December. So we've got 4 more months remaining in this year, and I want you to crush it. I want you to end 2022 strong. Are you ready to end 2022 strong? Well, what you need to do first is hit the like button, hit the share button, tag somebody, and let them know we're live on this beautiful Wednesday. And it's August 31st, and we're going to be talking about some things that are really relating to what you should be focusing a lot of your attention on within the next 4 months. So today is going to be our Wednesday holding company and tax strategy Q&A. Today is going to be a little Q&A. I do my best every couple days to stop and to just pull questions that we get throughout the week to answer questions so that we can give you some insight into a lot of the topics that we talk about. Like, for example, we have almost 2,000 videos on our YouTube page. And a lot of those videos are about holding companies, entrepreneurship, business ownership, investing, real estate, financial literacy, tax strategies, sales, marketing, systems, processes. Everything that I teach, I put in video form, at least incrementally, for our social media channels like YouTube. So today I want to just take some time and answer a few questions. Maybe you have some questions during the live. If you do, what I need you to do is put the question in the comments, and me and my team will do our best to pull that question during the live, and we will answer your questions. So for those of you that are watching the show for the first time, let me say welcome to the Ramon Preston Show. I am your host, Ramon Preston, and every Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, unless like today, I was on several coaching calls, consultations, conference calls. I had so much going on this morning, and really we've had a lot going on this week. But other than that, every Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock noon, we show up here on the Ramon Preston Show to give you information, to provide value to you. And this information, this value is really centered around showing you how to start, structure, and scale your businesses, your ministries, if you have a ministry, your income streams, and your wealth building dreams. So if you have a business, or if you want a business, if you have a ministry or want one, if you have wealth building dreams or you want them, guess what? The information that we share on this show can help facilitate that. Now, just in case you might be asking, what qualifies you to talk about all this stuff? Well, what qualifies me to talk about all this stuff is the fact that I have successfully built a business organization. I have successfully built a nonprofit organization, and both of my organizations as a whole and all of the divisions and subsidiaries that are under them are all successful. So I have the playbook. I've got the playbook to going from hood figure to seven figures. And that's why I share this information with you. And I have programs, I have services, I have products that include all of this information that I have in my personal playbook. So we have consulting services for business and finance and even real estate. We have coaching services. We have a coaching program called the Millionaire Mentorship Program. It's a 1-year program. We have an online training program for business and finances called the Millionaire Blueprint. And we have several other programs and services and products that we provide. But I just want you to know, everything that I talk to you about on this show is information that I live by. It's information that my staff uses. It's information that we've got students and clients from all across America who use this information and who train and educate themselves and who are being coached by me and led by me to get them to 6 and 7 figures as well. So I want to say thank you for joining the show today. If you have any questions, please put the questions in the comments, and do me a favor. Not only put the questions in the comments, excuse me, put in the comments what city you're watching me from today. That's what you need to do. Let me know what city you're watching me from today. Okay, because I want to answer some questions. I want to give you some game to some of our common questions that we have about holding companies and about creative tax strategies. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to answer a few questions about holding companies and taxes is because if you are an entrepreneur, okay, if you plan on becoming a business owner, or if you are already a business owner, there are so many things you got to learn if you're going to be successful. That means if you're going to have financial freedom using your business, if you're going to be a millionaire and you want your business to grow and be successful, there are so many things you got to learn, so many things you got to know. So many skill sets and abilities you got to have, like sales and marketing, and you have to understand technology a little bit. You have to be familiar with the digital platforms and landscapes that we have in the world today. You have to understand goal setting and scheduling, and you've got to understand leadership and management. You've got to understand logistics and operations and product development and customer service and customer acquisition. It's so many things that you have to learn and get familiar with, right? But two of the main things that you need to have on the top of that list, among many things, especially sales and marketing, the two things are holding companies and tax strategies. Now, why should holding companies or the holding company be at the top of your list? Because this is going to be a part of your infrastructure. You got to learn this stuff. And so I keep preaching it like I'm Noah preaching about rain coming, because I know if you're not understanding some of these principles and concepts, your business probably ain't growing. And if your business is growing and it's growing like exponentially, you're probably paying people who know the things that I know to help you with those things that you don't know. That means you might have to go to a consulting firm. That means you might have to find some type of legal team or team of experts to help you maybe restructure or reorganize your business. You might have to learn about these things, whether you're learning them on your own or you're learning them through paying experts who are working with you. But either way, you got to learn it. You got to understand it. So the holding company, the principles and the concepts behind it are very, very important. And then tax strategies, because that's a problem we all have. You hear people say things like this all the time. There are two things in life that are certain: death and taxes, which are true. Both are inevitable. Like, it's really gonna be there. Now, there's a way around the tax part, meaning that you can reduce your tax bill or probably even eliminate your tax bill. But how are you going to do that? It ain't gonna just happen because you find a good CPA, because a good CPA is probably gonna tell you that, listen, you still need to have a financial system. You need to have some type of understanding of how to run the day-to-day financial activities and operations of your business. So when you listen to people like me, okay, I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a tax expert. I'm none of the above. I'm an entrepreneur who has built a successful business and who has taken the last 19 years to figure out a lot of these principles and concepts to be successful. And I have in turn come back around, created platforms, services, programs, and training courses to educate you and to enlighten you on the things that I've found out in the last 19 years are critical to your business success. And a lot of these things you're not going to necessarily find out just from just browsing the internet. Like I talk to people every day who tell me, yeah, I watch you online. I'm always watching you online. I watch your videos every day. I this, I that. But it don't mean what they're watching they're using, because it's not consistent enough. It's not consolidated enough. It's not centralized enough. And that's the purpose of having courses and programs and groups that you can become a part of, because it contextualizes it, it centralizes it, it consolidates it in a way that you can be accountable and be consistent. So if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, or you want to be one, and you all over the place, you don't have no infrastructure, no systems and processes, you got to get a grip on this stuff if you want to be successful, which, by the way, there's no greater time you could be starting a business right now and really start leaning in towards success than now. Because a lot of people, they backing out. A lot of people are contracting. A lot of people have a recession mentality or a scarcity mentality. So let's just go through a few of the common questions and answers concerning holding companies and tax strategies. So one of the most common questions that I've gotten just within the last week or so is the question on, is it important, or is it necessary or essential to have a holding company? Like, is that important? Do you even need a holding company? Well, for me, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Yes, you need one. So some people are going to tell you, well, no, you don't need one. But that's just their opinion. And just because they are some type of expert or guru or influencer in a certain area don't mean just because they have an opinion about something that it's the only opinion or is the right or best opinion. No, it just means they have an opinion. Because if you talk to me and you ask me, do I need a holding company? I'm going to say, yes, you need a holding company. And for many different reasons. A lot of the reasons why we've covered, that we've already covered. So the question, do I need a holding company? Yes, you need a holding company. Why do I need a holding company? Well, for many different reasons. For one, you want a holding company because you want to create a legacy company. You want to create a company that houses things that you might not want housed in your operating company, okay? Because your operating company needs to be separate from your holding company, especially if your operating company has risk, especially if it's exposed to certain things that could become liabilities to you or to your other assets. You want that separated. So that's one of the most important reasons. Another sophisticated way of saying it is asset protection. You want to protect your assets. So now you want a holding company because you want to protect your assets and you want to separate your assets from your operation business, okay? Now, with that being said, another reason why I'm saying yes to a holding company is because you want to learn how to build an infrastructure of systems and processes. You basically want to start practicing early how to become an asset manager. Is that making sense to you? Like, this is a critical question that I'm answering. So here you are right here. I want you to have a holding company right here. And I want you to, if you have another entity, I want you to have your operating company. I'm abbreviating HC for OC. I want your operating company here because even at this stage, because you have an operating company that sells products and services, whatever you sell, okay? So I don't know what it is that you sell, but let's just say you have a company that sells products and services. I want that company to be owned by your holding company, and I want you to own your holding company. If for nothing else, I want these two to be separate so that other assets that you have, whether it's intellectual property, whether it's certain equipment, whether it's real estate, whether it's copyrights or trademarks, or whether it's just certain proprietary things that are valuable to you and to your family and your legacy, I want them to be separated, because if anything ever happens to this entity and all of those assets are in this entity, now all those assets and those things are just as vulnerable as this business. But when you separate them, now they're not vulnerable. But another key component to you having this is your products and services are being sold through this entity, not necessarily through this entity, but you start learning how to become an asset manager. Because what happens when you're ready to exit this role? What happens when you're no longer interested in selling products and services? Well, if you have this type of structure built, you're already used to running an organizational enterprise. You're already familiar with separating systems and processes and even duplicating them, so that when it's time for you to start another entity, whether it's real estate or NFTs or whatever it is that you're doing, investing or a whole nother business, you already understand the infrastructure. It's easy to duplicate because you understand the system and the processes that you've connected to your infrastructure. So my question on, do you need one, or is it important to have one? My answer is yeah. It's essential for you to have it, because you need to start practicing it. And again, a lot of the people who say, yeah, you don't need that, these are people who have their own opinions about it. It don't mean they right. It don't mean they wrong. It just means they got their own opinion. But you have to decide what is best for you and what is best for your organization. So if you have any questions about holding companies or tax strategies, at least from what I know about tax strategies, I'm not a tax expert, but I have a lot of people that I have worked with who are, and I have my own that will work with me in my business, and I'm always asking questions. I'm always learning, because I want to be as good as I possibly can. I've had to go through, let's see, 1, 2, 3, I think I've been through 3 or 4, me and my wife. Well, we've been through 1 CPA, 2, we've been through two CPAs. We've had 2 CPAs in the past. We've had 2 CPAs in the past, and then we've worked with a couple accountants in the past. But I've worked with enough to know that a lot of the things that the typical entrepreneur and business owner thinks the CPA is going to do for you are not the things that they're going to do for you. I've learned that, and I always educate my clients on that. You can't expect for the experts to run your business. They're not running your business. They're experts in a niche field doing what they do, and you got to get good at doing it enough to make it at least easier for you to understand once you get with them. Okay, so we have a question on YouTube. 100K Mars. The question is, so the holding company should hold the trademarks? Yep, that's it. That's the question is, should the holding company hold the trademarks? Yep. The holding company should hold the trademarks. So this is the holding company right here. The holding company should hold the trademarks. The holding company should hold the copyrights, any IP, any proprietary processes that you come up with that are proprietary to you. So I would put processes, Your holding company should hold your ownership interest. So I'll put ownership interest. And the truth is, your holding company can own shares of stocks, bonds, insurance, or whatever it is. You know, I know some people, they have trusts that own the holding company, and then the person owns the trust. So it could actually be like that as well. So you have all these things that are owned by your holding company, and then your holding company can be owned by your trust, and then your trust could be owned by you. So that's another level of layers that you ultimately build out. But as far as trademarks, copyrights, IP, processes, ownership interests, equipment, some equipment, but I don't really say that would be the route to go for your holding company to own equipment. You may have another entity that owns the equipment. So I would always say, if you got equipment, if this is equipment right here, I would put it under that entity. And if you have real estate, it'll be a separate entity, because again, if you own equipment, if your holding company owns equipment, or your holding company owns real estate, and you're renting or leasing this equipment out, or renting and leasing this real estate out, if something ever happens to these items, if they're in your holding company, then all this stuff is exposed, right? So you separate it. You put your equipment in a separate entity. That would be the way to do it. So this is stuff that you have to learn as an entrepreneur. This is one of the reasons why it's hard for small business owners and entrepreneurs. I said this is one of the reasons why it's hard for small business owners and entrepreneurs to really scale their businesses and really create financial freedom. This is one of the reasons. Of course, selling and marketing is the main reason, because you got to learn how to sell, you got to learn how to market. But once you build a muscle for selling and marketing, and you do start making money in your business, then having these types of infrastructures built are going to start giving you that leverage, which brings me to another common question I've gotten just within the last few weeks. And that common question is about like what do I do? What do I do if I don't understand taxes, and I don't know how to write things off, and I don't know about business deductions? Well, again, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have your infrastructure built correctly. So let's just assume you have your infrastructure built correctly. Let's just say this is holding company, LLC number 1. This is operating company, LLC number 2. Let's just say hypothetically. And operating company is making money, okay? One of the first things you need to do, if you're not familiar with business deductions and write-offs, of course, you need to hire an expert. You need a tax advisor, somebody who does this type of work, so that you could build a relationship with. See, I'm giving you all this information and I'm sharing these things with you, but I have a tax professional that I work with. I have them on retainer. So most of the times when you have a good tax person working with you in your business, you're probably going to have to pay a retainer. Maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once a quarter. But what that does is it gives you the ability to communicate with them on a regular basis, so that you can stay on top of your financial affairs for your business. Now, that doesn't mean you don't need to learn things about taxes and deductions and write-offs yourself, because again, I think one of the myths that a lot of people have is they're going to go hire somebody to do their taxes, and they're going to just fix all their problems so that they don't have a big tax bill. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. So when you do have the infrastructure, the most important component to this infrastructure is your financial system. So this is why If you've ever been through any of my courses, or if you've ever been introduced to any of my coaching programs, I'm always teaching you on systems. One in particular is your financial system. So I have an entire program built into my Millionaire Blueprint, my educational platform. I have a whole program in there teaching you about financial literacy, about creative tax strategies, about money, so that you can understand this. I have a whole workshop in there that I take about 2 hours, and I do a deep dive to show you how to set up your QuickBooks account and how to start configuring it so that you can track all of your financial activities. This is really how you're going to take advantage of creative tax strategies, because it's one thing for somebody to say, oh yeah, I need some creative tax strategy. I need to figure out how to lower my taxes, and I need to know how to reduce it, and I need write-offs and business deductions. Well, you might not be able to Google your way to that finish line. At some point, you need to educate yourself about using financial systems like QuickBooks, and educating yourself enough to know how to start tracking your income and expenses, your cash reserves, cash collected. You want to be able to stay on top of all those transactions and those activities, and you want to start getting good at knowing what things you can write off that are considered to be necessary for your business or ordinary for your business, and things that might not be able to be written off. So even though I know way more about financial systems and creative tax strategies and write-offs and deductions, I know way more than a whole lot of entrepreneurs do. But I still have my tax professional over here, so that when I'm tracking my financial transactions every day, I mean, I have someone on my staff who actually does it and helps me. I got a couple people who help me, right? But I'm still staying on top of it. So when there are certain transactions that I'm not sure about, or if there are certain things that I want to do financially that I'm not 100% sure about, I don't know if it could be written off. I don't know if it's a business deduction. I don't know how it needs to be categorized within QuickBooks, because this is where you're housing it all. This is where it all goes at. It ain't going on some piece of paper. You get what I'm saying? So it's very important for you to understand that. I can reach out to this person and say, hey, what do I need to do with this? Or what is that considered? And they can tell me that's going to be considered a taxable event or a non-taxable event, or this needs to be categorized by this. Or they can jump in my QuickBooks account and clean it up to make it make sense. But how are you going to be able to understand these things unless you're educated on it? And this person over here may not have any education for you. This tax person over here, this is the tax person, right? This is the tax professional. They might not have educational courses and things to help you with this. Now, you got to be careful when you're getting this from people like me. You got to be careful, because we're not this person. So sometimes we can come off making you think we're this person, and we're really not. I'm just honest enough to tell you, I'm not the tax professional. I'm not the legal expert. But if you listen to the things that I'm saying and you talk to these people, you're going to realize, wow, he actually knows a lot of what he's saying. Don't mean I'm right all the time, but I can say a whole lot of stuff and give you a whole lot of information. But I got this guy behind me, and I'm like going back over here before I do anything, so I can be clear on what I'm doing, okay? And so this is just a long answer to a short question on how do you educate yourself and learn about business deductions, tax strategies, write-offs, and things that are essential to you running your business the right way and not being penalized and being burdened every year because you don't know what your tax bill is, or you don't even know where you are financially. Well, the way you do that is you get educated on how to run a financial system, okay? Now, I'm talking to you about education because I have courses that teach you the fundamentals of financial literacy, the fundamentals of creative tax strategies, the fundamentals of how to set up a QuickBooks account and how to at least configure it in a way that you can get the ball rolling and you can start tracking all of your activities, your income and expenses, and you can go from there and start growing. At some point, you're going to need this person over here, but either way, if you get this person over here and you don't have this over here, they don't know what to do for you, okay? So if you have any questions, I want you to drop the questions in the comments, and if what I'm saying to you is making sense, I want you to give me what your biggest takeaway is so far. I know I've covered quite a bit of information just with those two questions. 100K, thanks. I appreciate you as well. Thank you for tuning in and watching the show today. So I had another question somebody dropped in one of my comments, and the question was about them having multiple entities. It was a question about them having multiple entities, and they were, I think they had 6. I think they said they had 6 LLCs. And the question was about them needing these 6 LLCs to be under a holding company. So if you have 6 LLCs, that means you own 3, right? 4, 5, 6. So that's how you got yours set up right now. So the person who asked me this question, you got LLC number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you got 6 entities that you own. That's how you have it set up. There's a lot of problems with that, in my estimation, because I don't recommend this, and I don't teach my students and clients on doing it that way. I don't want you to have 6 LLCs that you're on top of and you own, because number one, all the money that comes through these LLCs is coming up to you, and unless you're doing business with these other LLCs, you're really not transferring any money from one entity to another, and it's just difficult. It's like more complicated this way. I don't want you to have it that way. How I want you to have it is this. I want you to be here. I want you to have this 1, and then I want you to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we still got 6 entities over here, but look, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so now all 5 of these are passed through to this one and up to you. It's just simple, it's easier, as opposed to you like this. Come on, which one would you rather have? Would you rather have this type of structure or that kind of structure? I would rather have this structure. So now this entity owns those 5 as opposed to me owning all 6. And when there's money coming through any of these, because they all flow up to this one can decide if money needs to be invested from one to another one, because it's going to move up to this one and down to that one. It's just an easier transaction, and it's an easier transition, okay? That's what makes sense. This is how you're going to build wealth. This is how you're going to really get to your next level. We got another question. If the holding company is leasing assets to the operating company, doesn't that make the holding company an operating? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Not necessarily. I mean, you can the question that he just asked or she just asked was, if the holding company, let me see here. Here's the holding company. If the holding company is leasing assets let's say, to the operating company, doesn't that make the holding company an operating company? Not necessarily. For one reason, I'm saying not necessarily is because the operating company is not a separate business outside of you that you're doing business with. The operating company is owned by your holding company, so it ain't no people in between y'all. It ain't no middleman. It's not like you're over here doing business with this business owner who has a business and you're leasing some type of equipment to this person's business. Because now if something happens with this piece of equipment, this person here can actually sue your holding company. So it's not this type of operation. This lease is just for you to validate and solidify what's happening between these two entities, but you own it, so no one else is involved. You're not talking about this guy, gal over here. So essentially, it's not because it's you. You're doing business with you, so you ain't gonna sue you. But if it involves other people, then that would be more of an operation, because it's like you need to have another company here that all it does is lease. So I would, if you're going to do business outside of your own subsidiaries, then you're going to just start a leasing company. And then you're going to put all that equipment in here. And then this company can do business with this person. That would be an operation. But if it's between your operating company and your holding company, it's a subsidiary. So it ain't like you suing you. So, and most likely, if you're leasing it to your operating company, you probably have written in the lease that you're not responsible. That the operating company is responsible for any liabilities with that piece of equipment. So now it protects your holding company. But again, depending on how advanced and how sophisticated you get, I've seen it both ways. But when you start growing and doing a whole lot of stuff, you start separating those entities for many different reasons. You start separating it because you're really creating more expenses, which are business deductions, and you are just adding extra layers of protection. Because if you got a whole lot of assets in here, you know, unless these assets that you're leasing is not equipment, if these assets are like copyrights or trademarks or things like that, it ain't really a lease as much as it's a licensing play. It's more of a licensing where you might be getting royalties, because there are different implications on that. So I've got a licensing division that runs through my holding company. It ain't really leasing assets to another business. It's actually licensing the assets. So that's different than the leasing. So I hope that answered your question. But listen, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. These are principles, these are concepts that you have to learn, okay? I have courses that we provide the training for you. We can teach you and train you on these things. So we have single courses, and we have an entire program called the Millionaire Blueprint. So it's really your choice, but I would recommend that you just reach out to me. Let me know where you are in your business and what exactly you think you need at this point in your business. Maybe you just need to learn about the holding company. Maybe you need to learn about creative tax strategies. Maybe you need both. Maybe you need those two and some sales and marketing and some training on financial literacy. So we have a program that is structured to give you all the education and all the training in these specific specialized areas. So instead of me just throwing prices up here and programs up here, that wouldn't be the business consultant in me. That wouldn't be the right way. I just recommend that you text the word millionaire. Text the word millionaire to 404-478-7213. You text the word millionaire to that number, and what will happen is we will reach back out to you when you text the word millionaire, and then you can just let us know what exactly are you doing or looking to do, so we can help you identify with what you actually need, what is most important for you to get access to, and then we could give you access to that training, that program, or maybe you might need coaching. You might need me to walk with you through each step of your process in business or your financial process, and we have coaching programs available for you, or we could just give you access to the online educational training platform, and you can start learning this information today. I mean, it's just as simple as that. You text the word millionaire. We take a few minutes to assess your situation over the phone to help you identify with what programs or courses that we have that work perfectly for what you need. And once you accept it, we can process your payment. We can onboard you within minutes, and you can have access to it, and you can start training. So I appreciate all of you for joining the show today. Please put one of your biggest takeaways in the comments. Like, what was the big thing that you learned today? What stood out the most? I want you to put it in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube page. Please subscribe to my YouTube page. I really would appreciate it. So thank all of you for joining the show today. We'll be back here tomorrow, same place, same time, 12 o'clock noon, right here on the Ramon Preston Show.